Dear students, as you know, there are two kinds of articles in the English language. The first one is definite and the second one is indefinite. We have got one definite article and two indefinite articles. The definite article is the, that is pronounced as the sometimes and the some other times. And there are two indefinite articles, they are and an. The definite article the is pronounced as the when that is used before a word that begins with a vowel sound. It becomes the when that comes before a word that begins with a consonant sound. For example, we say the doctor. Da is a consonant sound. That's why we say the doctor. But the engineer, the word engineer begins with a vowel sound, that is A. That's why we say the engineer. The American, the African, the Asian, but the European, the Pakistani, the Bangladeshi, the Japanese, the Russian. Remember, when you use the definite article the before a word that begins with a consonant sound, pronounce it as the. When it comes before a vowel sound, pronounce it as the. Now let us look at the indefinite articles a and an. Both the articles mean one. So when you say a doctor, you mean to say that there is one doctor. When you say an engineer, you mean to say that there is one engineer. You're talking about one engineer, one doctor. So both the indefinite articles a and an mean one. Since both the indefinite articles mean one, they cannot be used with uncountable nouns. Both these words mean one. A means one, and means one. So you can't make use of these articles before uncountable nouns. For example, you can't say a water because water is uncountable. You can't say a milk, milk is uncountable. A fire, that is wrong because fire is uncountable. A money, that is uncountable. You can't say a money. You can't say a money, a food, a water, a fire because these are all uncountable nouns. So remember to use the indefinite articles only with countable nouns, that too singular countable nouns. If a noun is plural, you can't make use of indefinite articles. You can't say a students because students is plural, a means one. There is a mismatch. You can't say an engineers because engineers is a plural noun and you can't use an. An means one. You can't say one engineers or one students or one teachers. So what do you understand? You understand that the indefinite articles a and an can be used only with singular countable nouns. If there is a plural noun, don't use that. If there is an uncountable noun, you don't make use of that. If both a and an mean one, what is the difference between them? There should be a difference. Otherwise, we won't have two indefinite articles. They mean the same, but there is a difference in usage. So, what is the difference? A is used before a word that begins with a consonant sound. An is used before a word that begins with a vowel sound. As you know, in every language, there are two kinds of sounds. I'm not talking about the letters of the alphabet, but the sounds. So there are two kinds of sounds. They are vowel sounds and consonant sounds. When a word begins with a vowel sound, we have to make use of an. For example, an engineer. We are using an before the word engineer because the word engineer begins with a vowel sound A. Don't look at the letters. If you look at the letters, you may go wrong. So when you see a word, try to pronounce the word. If the word given to you begins with a vowel sound, make use of an. If it begins with a consonant sound, make use of a. She is an American. I'm using the indefinite article an before the word American because the word American begins with the sound a. A is a vowel, isn't it? A is a vowel, so the word American takes an. You can't say a American, it should be an American. An African, a sound again. An Indian, you say an Indian because the word Indian begins with the sound E, is a vowel. But what about the word European? European, the word European begins with the letter E, is a vowel. The second letter U is also a vowel, but still we can't say an European because the word European begins with the sound U. U is a consonant sound. You know, ya is a consonant sound. I is a vowel sound, but ya is a consonant sound. Since the word European begins with a consonant sound, we have to make use of a before that. You can't say an European. Looking at the letter E, if you use an, you will be making a mistake. Don't say he's an European. The correct expression is he's a European. He is dash university student. Now look at the word university. He is dash university student. Is it a or an? Now look at the word university. What does it begin with? It begins with the letter U, which is a vowel letter. But how do you pronounce the word university? You pronounce it as university. It is not university, it is university. Since the sound ya or u is a consonant, you can't use and before that. You have to make use of she is a university student. You can't say she is an university student looking at the letter u. Umbrella. I have dash umbrella. Look at the word umbrella. What letter does it begin with? It begins with the letter U. But how do you pronounce it? You pronounce it as A. Since it begins with the sound A, you make use of an. It is an umbrella. One more example. I have dash 1 rupee note. Now look at the word one. The word one begins with the sound wa, but the letter O. You know, the letter O is a vowel letter. But how do we pronounce the letter O here? It is not pronounced as O. We don't pronounce it as on, it is one. So the first sound that you hear when you say one is va. Va is a consonant sound. So you have to say, I have a 1 rupee note. It is wrong to say, I have an 1 rupee note. So looking at the letter O, if you write an, you'll be making a mistake. I'll give you some more examples. She is a BA student. She is a BA student. Why am I saying a BA student? Because the word BA begins with the sound B. B is a consonant sound. Ba is a consonant sound. But he is dash MSc student. Now look at the word MSc that begins with the letter M, which is a consonant, no doubt. But how do you pronounce the word MSc? You pronounce it as EMSC. What's the first sound that you hear when you say MSc? The first sound that you hear is M. M. When you say M, the first sound that you hear is A, which is a vowel. So you should say he is an MSc student. He is a BA student. B is a consonant. He is a BCom student. He is a BSc student, but he is an MCom student. He is an MS student. He is an MLA. Look at the word MLA. It begins with the letter M, but is pronounced as A. MLA. So you should say an MLA, an MP, but a minister. Minister, the word minister begins with the sound ma or me, which is a consonant. So you should say a minister, but an MLA. and MP. So, whenever you have to choose an article before a word, don't look at the letter with which it begins, but listen to the sound. If a word begins with a vowel sound, make use of an, and if it begins with a consonant sound, make use of a. There is one more thing to be kept in mind, that is, don't use indefinite articles and an before uncountable nouns and plural nouns. These indefinite articles are used just with singular countable nouns. Thank you very much for being with me. I'll come back with another topic. Thank you.